Okay, Standard 25B states, I can describe the Americanization movement to assimilate immigrants and American Indians into American culture. With this standard, you basically need to understand what Americanization movement is and what assimilation means. So basically, the Americanization movement is to make immigrants and Indians more American-like. So basically, it was a movement to make them more American, sending them to American schools, taking them off their land and putting them on reservations and requiring them to learn the American way. So that's the Americanization movement. Assimilation means to basically assimilate somebody into the society in which they live in, and basically removing their culture and giving them the culture that is present. So assimilation means to assimilate them into the American culture, remove their culture and make them more American-like. And during this time period, the American Indians were basically forced off their land onto reservations, and they were basically forced to look more American-like. So they learned the American language, they learned in American schools, they learned how to dress like Americans and to look more American. They did this to immigrants too as they came in, but we will look more at that when we get to the progressive era with the settlement houses. And that type of assimilation has more of a positive role. When we look at it in the Gilded Age, we're looking more at the American Indians and how they were removed from their culture and forced to become more American-like. So the question on this test was question 1. It says the passage of the Dawes Act in 1887 was primarily an attempt by the United States government to A. Limit the power of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. B. Return eastern land to Native American Indian tribes. C. To assimilate Native American Indians. Or D. Hire Native American Indians as military scouts. So the correct answer here is C. The Dawes Act was passed by the government, forcing the Indians off their land and into reservations. And as they were forced onto those reservations, they were forced to assimilate the Native American Indians into the American culture. So C is the correct answer. A is incorrect. Limit the power of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. We weren't trying to limit. We didn't even have the Bureau of Indian Affairs at this point. B is incorrect. Return eastern land to Native American Indian tribes. We actually took their land in the Great Plains, so we weren't trying to return any of their land. And D is incorrect. Hire Native American Indians as military scouts. The Native American Indians were very upset about the fact that their land was taken from them and that they were being forced into the culture. So we weren't going to trust that they were going to come in and help with our military.